Like, I thought I was going to be the next Steve Irwin,
Yeah.
because I really liked animals a lot, and I was always kind of the kid that was never afraid to jump in and, like, catch a rattlesnake or a Gila monster or whatever.
He's from Phoenix, Arizona, putting his own Southwest spin on pop music. You may know him from his songs Just Like You or Been a While. Please welcome Wheelwright to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. So just kind of first question, just to get things started. What was your first experience with music like, or what made you get into music?
Oh, dude. I actually started playing music in like the fourth grade. I played violin because my school had a music had this program where fourth graders and fifth graders had to be in either orchestra, band, or choir. And I don't know, something about the violin. I was like, yeah. Fuck it, man. I'm gonna go for some violining. And at first, I didn't like it very much. You know, there's like anything else I would rather be doing, like playing baseball with my buddies or like riding bikes around the neighborhood.
I've been more into like the outdoorsy sports areas.
Not even just outdoorsy sports, just like little kid stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was just a little boy. I wanted to climb trees. I wanted to like pretend to fight people. I wanted to like do stupid little boy stuff. And it wasn't it wasn't probably until like 7th or 8th grade that I really started enjoying it, because my parents made me keep on doing the violin thing.
Yeah.
And I think I acknowledged that I kind of had I had kind of a bit of a gift for it, because I started playing violin and I started playing viola from that, and then like piano a little bit here and there, and like it's not that I hated doing it. I just like doing other stuff more. Yeah. But I want to say that in high school, that's when it really started to click for me. And I started I'd always kind of written poetry because I was a little kid with his own set of problems, and poetry is kind of what got me through it. And I started playing guitar because it was the easiest thing to sing with, and I started writing songs in high school, and kind of grew from there.
Yeah. That's actually like pretty close to my experience in my school. Like 4th, 5th grade, I think they had options. It was like trumpet, flute, violin, and you had to pick one of those and play.
Yeah.
And they like had a day where like you could go around and try all the instruments. And like I tried trumpet, just couldn't really like get the lips right to get a sound. And I tried violin, thought it was fine, and then did flute, and we were like playing for a while. And just blown into the flute, I started to feel lightheaded, and I was like, maybe this isn't the instrument for me. So I ended up doing violin in 4th grade too.
Cool, man. Hell yeah.
So,
whereabouts are you?
I'm in New York right now, based out of New York.
Oh, okay. Cool. Like New York City, or like?
A little outside the city, in one of the suburbs. And
okay, cool.
Yeah, but I grew up back in LA. Moved here when I was 13 or so.
Like coast to coast.
Yeah, big move.
Right on, man.
So, as a kid, like, growing up, you said, like, there were things you liked more than, like, violin or music. Was there anything you thought you might do in life other than music? Like, you know, all the kids have dreams of, like, athlete, like, astronaut, anything like that?
I thought I was going to be the crocodile hunter. Like, I thought I was going to be the next Steve Irwin. Because I really liked animals a lot, and I was always kind of the kid that was never afraid to jump in and like catch a rattlesnake or a Gila monster or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, you know, what Arizona's our own little slice of Australia in America. Like there's all sorts of crazy animals out here, and me and my buddies actually we used to go out with our little video recorders and document me like catching animals with my bare hands, and my parents hated it, but like it was a thrill that I loved doing, and I learned a lot about, you know, how to handle reptiles and animals properly, and I took courses on how to deal with different types of snakes, and I was really into it, but I kind of gave up that dream and wanted to be a surgeon for a little while,
Yeah.
and then I grew up and started playing music. Actually, so here's the thing: I kind of stumbled and tripped into actually playing music as a career because I got my degree in business at ASU, and I thought that I was going to just work for an advertising firm in Phoenix. That was pretty like a pretty big deal at the school,
Yeah.
and I started a band as graduation got a little bit closer, and for whatever reason, the band started doing well enough that I was like, yeah, I guess I'll give this a shot, because people started coming out to shows and stuff, and we thought we thought we were gonna play 3 shows and kind of be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had people coming out and like singing songs that they picked up from YouTube and stuff by the 3rd show, and it just kind of felt right to keep doing it. So I started a band called Jared and the Mill, like probably in like 2011, 2012, and that's progressed into Wheelwright, which is the current form.
Yeah, and so Wheelwright now, is it kind of more of like a solo project for you than a band setting?
Yeah, it's funny because Jared and the Mill was rocking pretty hard, and we were doing pretty well up until the end of the world in 2020, and circumstances change and things happen, and we're all buddies, and it just made a little bit more sense for me to kind of try my own thing. But all the guys that were in Jared and the Mill, they're still my creative team, and they still write with me, and we still tour together and make music together. This just, the new form just kind of gives them a little more freedom to do the stuff that they want to do.
Yeah. So what's kind of like the difference, or like what do you think are some of the pros and cons of like a more like band playing together setting and like a solo artist setting?
I mean, it's all about collaboration when you're in a band, right? Like you everyone kind of has a say in how a song sounds, or like what your plans are for a tour or whatever. How a record cover looks and what the shirts are gonna look like, that kind of stuff. But that is a beautiful process. The collaborative effort of like friends doing something cool together is always, there's something just electric about it. But it feels a little bit more artistic to kind of be my own creative force in a way, and I'm to be able to just like sit side by side with like a producer and not have a vote on what we do with a song or anything, but just like my vision and like what's going on in my head can go straight onto the tape, and there's not a big discussion about it. It's just I create a song based on how I want the song to sound, and it's really freeing. But I definitely miss that collaborative like pirate ship of a process with my boys.
And so, like, towards the start of it, you mentioned you were like working with this advertising agency while you started Jared in the Mill. As we were kind of getting set up and everything, you said you hurt your finger or something doing yard work. Do you still have any work or like job you're doing outside of music?
Yeah, actually, I do like a lot of farm work for my grandpa. He owns a property up just north of town a little bit, and I plant the. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so my grandpa has this property just north of Phoenix, and I go down there and I do the kind of the grunt work, move soil around, or dig trenches for garden boxes, or do a lot of watering and a lot of digging and a lot of moving fence posts around, stuff like that. I come from an old cowboy family, so despite trying to live on the road and be a touring artist, I still have to pay my family dues.
Yeah, and
so I snagged a fence post with my hand and cut it open, and I just reopened it, getting ready for this chat that we're having. That's why I was late. But aside from that, I actually I do a lot of cooking. I really enjoy cooking, and over quarantine, I started a pasta company because I have chickens
Oh,
in my
really?
house and I have a garden and everything, and so I started making fresh handmade pasta, and it's like just kind of selling it on Instagram, kind of a first come first serve. This is what I made. I'm selling
Yeah.
it for this much kind of thing, and that started to do really well, and it got me. I started making pasta for restaurants around town and stuff, and have a couple buddies who work with me, and they're making pasta too, and then
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah, just kind of I don't know I try my best to keep my life diverse because I'm not really good for like a single lane, you
Yeah.
know.
And so, like, your family seems to be like a kind of, I don't want to say like old fashioned, but like kind of very family based family, and
Yeah,
like they have a
yeah.
lot
I
of
mean,
family values. So were they supportive at first when you were kind of like, hey, I want to do this music thing, I want to go like tour with my music, all of that?
yeah. They're actually crazy. They're crazy supportive. My mom, she was an arts teacher and she's an interior designer, so she's all about the creative pursuits.
Yeah.
Um, and my dad believes that he would have been a singer if he didn't, have to get a normal job in his early 20s. He thinks he would have been a singer himself. So I mean, they're both really proud, and they're super supportive of what I do, and my whole family's super accommodating. Like, and for all the family values and old fashionedness, we're still we're pretty progressive
Yeah.
family. So like, they're is they're kind of like, hey, as long as you can support yourself and make it work,
Yeah.
we support you, and we're proud of you no matter what you do in life. So
Yeah.
it's been really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And so, like, you were saying, like, you would go around, like, learning all these facts about animals, catching animals. Would you
yeah.
want to, like, be able to do something with animals, either in the future, like now or in the future?
Maybe. I mean, I think it'd be really to have like a ranch of some sort. I think that
Yeah.
cows are super interesting creatures. Steer rather. And I mean, I get a kick out of chickens. They're just the funniest animals to watch, like
Yeah.
operate, and they're dumber than hell. You can you can trap one like behind a chair and doesn't realize it can go around the chair to get to like the food. I just like throw food out, and then I put a chair in the way of them, and they like can't figure out like how to maneuver around. It's hours of
Yeah.
entertainment. It's definitely old fat. That part is definitely old fashioned.
Yeah.
But
You find
it's
your
fun.
fun in the little things, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good time. But maybe, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of trust the river when it comes to my
Yeah, you're
lifestyle and
keeping
whatever
kind
I'm
of your
doing.
options over your neck, and like too dug into one thing. You're keeping
Yeah,
options open
exactly.
for
You-
different lanes in the future.
Yeah, as long as I can make it work, and if I've got too much on my plate, I kind of make the decision to cut something off. But I'm kind of hyperactive. I've got a lot of energy,
Yeah.
and I like solving problems. So it's fun for me to kind of just do whatever and diversify my bonds, is
Yeah.
what I would say.
So like, what tips or like advice would you give to someone just now starting their music career, whether with a band or solo? Like they have a few songs, they're trying to get their name out there. What kind of advice would you give to them?
And whenever I hear people talking about this on like podcasts or TikToks or whatever, it's my brain is always like coming up with my answers, but when I'm actually asked in real life, it's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
But I think that if I had to give you like an actual answer for that, I would say that like find what's different about what you do and sort of like capitalize on that. Like I think we live in a world where like quality or like good music is so readily available, and the assets that you need to create like decent sounding music are so readily available
Yeah.
that people aren't as interested. Like I heard someone say that like when you're trying to make a career out of music, like having good songs and sounding good is like that's the first step.
Yeah.
So like once you're past that, I think you got to ask yourself like what am I doing differently that would make
What
people
makes me
want
stand
to.
out?
Yeah, what kind of sets me apart? And I think it's really easy to want to follow what other people are doing that's popular, because that's, it's, you want to emulate people who are finding success, but it's usually not like the aesthetic choice or the type of music that someone's making that really gives them that boost. It's just
Yeah.
everyone's all the greats are have a thing that they do really well that that ends up being like their their rock that
Yeah.
they stand on. And then when you have that, your creative freedoms actually like sort of open up, because you have like this working condition that you are able to like kind of sit in, and um, yeah, I don't know. I spent so long, I think, like trying to make music like all the people who were uh, successful at any given time, and I wish that I had myself from the future to come back and grab me by the shirt and say, just like, do you.
Yeah.
You are the only you on this planet, and if anyone is going to have any interest in you, it's going to be because you are you, not because you look and sound like someone else. So um, that's like the biggest piece of advice I can
Yeah.
give.
And so like,
I think that's cliche, but it's the God's honest truth.
yeah. And so like finding what sets you apart. Do you think you've found that yet for yourself? And if so, what is it?
I think that that's like a moving goalpost,
Mm-hmm.
because I also believe that stasis isn't a very good thing. You shouldn't like sit and just
You shouldn't get comfortable doing just one
yeah,
thing.
yeah. But I think that like my like you said, I'm bringing my own like Southwestern sort of inspiration to pop music, and I think that my thing is just exemplifying young people from the part of the world that I'm from. Um, like a lot of people think of Arizona, and they don't realize that Phoenix is like the fifth biggest city in the country.
Yeah.
Like we have, we're I got asked, I still get asked sometimes if I like rode horses to school or anything like that, and it's like, nope, just cars like everyone else. There was no like, uphill
Yeah.
both ways through quicksand or anything. Like we're a big city, and so like kind of bringing that modernized uh, zeitgeist and like
Yeah.
culture into sort of the space of like the romanticized cowboy, and like kind of mixing the two like worlds is sort of like what my aesthetic is.
Yeah.
Mixing in a little bit of that like Blade Runner future, Manhunter kind of stuff. And then from like a music perspective, sort of doing the same thing where we take old Western like tropes, I'll say, but like
Yeah.
try to renew them. Like the big baritone part. And when I say Western, I don't mean like country, not like
Yeah.
locked my keys in my car and my dog ran away. Like that kind of stuff isn't so much what I write about or sound like, but it's more like the old spaghetti Western, sort of like classic
Yeah.
American like cowboy stuff, like super vintagey, but like sort of try to bring that into the 21st century. Um, that's kind of the goal, like the big scapey, deserty sounds, sort of undertoning the alternative pop music that I make.
And so, was there ever a moment where, like, whether with the band or with Wheelwright, like, where like something was going wrong, you thought like you had kind of plateaued, or like you wouldn't like music maybe wouldn't work out, like maybe you made the wrong decision? Was there anything that made you kind of think about taking a step back or stopping music?
I mean, not to scare anyone out there, but I think everyone deals with that every day.
Yeah.
Until maybe you're like, I don't know, if you're Justin Bieber, maybe
Yeah,
not, but like,
until you hit like the pinnacle of your
yeah,
industry.
exactly. But I mean, I wake up every day and my feet hit the ground, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? Just like throwing a Hail Mary with your life. Um, but it's fun, and I think that there's so many opportunities that have been presented to me through getting to know people in the music industry and through like the creative process that I think whether or not music like pans out for me for my whole life, I have a community that I've built around myself that
Hmm.
kind of allows me to keep that creative fire, and like I'll always find something sort of interesting in this world to do, which I think that that's like the greatest gift that I could have ever given myself is just kind of staying with it
Yeah.
and falling more and more in love with what I do every day, even though sometimes you hate it too. It's just
Yeah.
kind of the way it goes.
So is there like any person, whether it's like another artist or someone in your life that like kind of has inspired you the most, like to just like go for it and do music?
Um, I don't know. I'm I think that sometimes I'm maybe a little too pragmatic. And I think like realistically, there's the music industry is in a place that like is kind of unprecedented. Like we never really had a climate where
Yeah.
where the internet was like fully integrated into the world of music, like we do now.
Yeah. It's
Um,
much
and
more.
it's hard to like find role models from like any time gone by that I'm like, yeah, they did it the right, because like
Yeah.
everything's just so different now that we all live on the internet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm also, to be honest, I'm not the hippest dude to like all the different artists and
Yeah.
bands
Yeah.
that,
Well,
that
it's
have
also just like
walked the earth.
kind of like you were saying. It's such right now. It's such a more like open and accessible industry than it ever has been before. Because like almost anyone can just make a song of some sort and find one way or another to put it out, whether it's
Yeah,
because now we have people who like aren't even on some streaming services. They do YouTube, SoundCloud, all these other things that are completely free and just get their music out there. And
right.
so, what do you think are kind of like? Do you think that's kind of a good thing, bad thing, mix of the two? That it is such a now saturated market and everything.
I think that ultimately it's a good thing because like it's going to force more and more creativity and skill and quality work out of the people that make music.
Yeah,
Um, but it's certainly, like you said, is like kind of oversaturated the world with tunes, and it makes you kind of work a little bit harder.
yeah,
My agent, he was telling me about he represented a band called Fastball, um, and they're a band from the '90s that had a hit called "The Way," I think.
yeah,
But it sounds bananas. But in the '90s, like if you could play a song and you guys were in tune together, like a band would get signed just like that because
yeah.
people had to go to the store and pay for records still. So like you couldn't just listen to a song
Well,
over and
and
over again
most of the
on
time, being
Spotify or anything.
like signed to a label was the only way your music was getting out there. Like
Right, totally.
it was like you weren't really like an artist or a band unless you were signed to a label, and that's how your music would get out there in records,
Right.
vinyl. It wouldn't be like anyone can just go for it.
Exactly. And because the headway I think was so easy if you got to that point. Like if you had the resources of a
Yeah,
label and like you were able to do that, as soon as you were in that position, you had like the world opened up to you. Where now, I think that you just got to really make your mark, and you got to really go for it and show the world what you got,
yeah,
and sort of fight up the hill until you get to a point because uh, it's just the nature of things,
yeah,
Like, but here's the thing: is I think that there's there's shitty parts to every job. Like no, there's no perfect job where it's like, yeah, no, there's no bad side.
yeah,
Like and I think of that when you have like that the video of Halsey talking about like how her label's forcing her to make TikToks
Yeah.
in order to put out a song and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, well,
And
grow up.
that's like, well, that's
everyone has shit they don't want to do.
That's another good thing about how accessible the internet is, because now it's not a coincidence that once we have these lanes where artists can connect with their fans, that we hear these giant artists signed to a label now running into problems with their label, or like disagreeing, not feeling heard, or like the label going against kind of what they want. And it's like, well, this has always been a thing, you're just not hearing about it until now because it hasn't been so easy to hear about.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you think about all like the old like doo-wop singers and stuff who got locked into 360 deals where they didn't make any money, and like, tale as old as time, baby. This is showbiz. Everyone's trying to make a quick buck off you.
Yeah, and so a lot of your songs, a lot of your stuff, kind of keeps this kind of honest, authentic feeling, like lyrics that really speak truly, and it doesn't kind of it doesn't seem fake at all, or like seeming like everything's perfect. What kind of made you want to keep that honest, that real vibe?
Yeah, I think that like we've been talking about, like it's so easy to make music nowadays, and I think that it's so easy to sound good nowadays, and like perfection just became this very attainable thing for people who are making music. That I personally, when I listen to music, I want honesty, and I want just like something, because I think that it's kind of romantic to say, but I think that the truth just sounds a little bit different. And if you write a song that is like kind of brutally honest, you're going to get a response out of people that is sort of more grounded in respect and appreciation, because you're not like putting on the show for everyone.
Yeah.
You're just putting yourself out there and saying whatever's on your brain. And I think that that's more and more valuable, in a post-Instagram world where everyone's just like constantly trying to present this idealism on everything. That it's not about being a bummer, but it's like it's just about relating people and sort of seeing people eye to eye and being like, yeah, I mean, existence is pain, but like it's also beautiful, and we're also all here together, and like this is crazy. I like, it's I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in your own self-importance, but I think that the more you're able to sort of, give a raw answer to people, the more and more I think people connect with you. Where it's like, yeah, I went through a hard breakup and that sucks, but here we are together on this flying rock. So like, let's also, have a good time. Cry and dance at the same time.
And so when you're kind of coming up with a new song, what does that kind of creative process look like? Where do you kind of, if you have like a way that you usually start songs from, what's that look like? Or do you just kind of wait for a song to take shape on its own?
Yeah, I mean, I try, I definitely sit down and like actively try to write songs, but those are the ones that don't really go anywhere for me personally, because like it's contrived, and it's a good skill set to have. I think that that's like sort of like working out, where it's, if you the more you write melodies, and the more you like kind of put words together, and the more you sort of try to see the world through the lens of a songwriter, the better you'll get at songwriting. But the ones that really jump out at me are where I'm like, I'll be driving and just like a melody and a phrase will hit me, and I'll be like, yeah, God, and I'll stop and I'll get on my phone and I'll record it and I'll think about it over and over again in my head. And whether it's a riff or whether it's like lyrics or whether it's anything, it's usually honestly starting with me driving or me in the shower or something. And there's no one starting point. There's no set of chords, or there's no just like, lyrics or melodies that are like,
it just kind of like comes.
There's not a starting point. It's just like whatever is there, and I sort of fill in the space that needs to be filled in.
Mm-hmm. And so, what do you kind of try to find like inspiration in other artists that kind of help you with your creative process, or do you think you're like, are you trying to stay original? Uh, what's that kind of like?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge sucker for I'm so inspired by like Frank Ocean lately, for example.
Yeah,
I listen to his music sort of religiously, and I think that I try my best to glean songwriting ideas from him, but not in like a copy and paste sort of way.
yeah,
But just like I I think that the more and more you listen to an artist, the more like your brain starts to,
it's subconscious at that point.
yeah, like subconsciously put things together. So like I love the way that he is able to flow in between melodies, and like there's not a lot of song structure, but like he has hooks, and I just think the world of his music and of his artistry. So that's a big one right now. But before that, I mean, um, really into. I listened to Kendrick Lamar
Yeah,
religiously before Frank, and I have my periods of listening to Drake, and I have my periods of listening to T Pain, and all the while I'm listening to like I'm a sucker for old '60s revivalist folk and
yeah,
outlaw country stuff, just because that's sort of what I was raised on. Um, so it all kind of blends together, but I definitely I think right now, Frank Ocean is like the artist that I'm like, yeah, dude,
yeah,
there's something in there that I can achieve. I think.
yeah.
So that's the one for me right now.
And so like it seemed that like there were a couple of like hip hop rap artists in there. Would you ever think about kind of getting more into that vein, like a more like hip hop rap style or song?
Yeah, maybe. I I'm a believer in just sticking to my strengths.
Yeah,
And started I started singing sort of to help me overcome some speech impediments, which I had when I was a kid. Um, and I think that I've thought through those pretty well, but I don't think that I could really ever be a really quick singer or rapper, just because it's not something that have a lot of experience in. But
yeah,
maybe, I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe if it's like more of like a 303 type thing where I'm just sort of yelling, I can I can get away with it.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. And so like if you kind of got this like once in a lifetime chance, like you got the opportunity to make a song with any artist in the world, like who would you kind of want to work with? Who would you choose to try to make a song with?
Um, as a fan, probably Frank Ocean,
Yeah,
because I think that his any collaborative effort that he goes into, I think that he just like really leaves a mark on the songs and the people that he works with. Um, but I mean, it'd be to make a song with Kanye West. I think
yeah,
he's for sure an outside the box thinker,
yeah,
and I think that his production skills and his style of production are like just on another level entirely that we've never seen before.
yeah.
So Kanye West would be pretty cool. And who was the other one I was thinking? I do like this question a lot, and I try my best to like answer it on the spot
Yeah,
because. Oh yeah, Tormois, dude. Tormois is so sick. And I just sort of like Kanye West, just like his production style is just so cool and so interesting and so different that I would love to
hmm
make a song with him as well.
And so, do you kind of, in your experience, like playing live music, do you have kind of one show or like one event that kind of stood out that like either it stuck with you for some reason or like it was just like your favorite at all?
I when Jared and the Mill first started like really touring a lot, that's my old band. We went on tour with Barry Gibb, who like essentially is the Bee Gees. He's like the last like Bee Gee brother who's out there doing the Bee Gees thing. So we basically were on tour with the Bee Gees, and we did an arena tour where we played at like TD Gardens, and we played we played at the Hollywood Bowl, and we played at Jones Beach Theater. We played at all these massive like legendary arena or theater style venues, and like it was so cool, and like you're definitely intimidated as a young artist, but at the same time going through that was kind of like it made everything a little bit more tangible and realistic for me. And honestly, we didn't make a whole lot of fans because it was mostly like really old people who just wanted to hear Stand Alive and then go to bed by 7, and they're like, why is anyone other than the Bee Gees on this stage right now? Get them out of my face. But going on that tour and seeing how it all works, and we did it, and it just became in my head at the end of that run. I was like, yeah, I could for sure do that again. I think when things become less doable. When things sort of leave the realm of being unrealistic to you, they become a little bit more attainable. Yeah. So that was my moment of like, yeah, a couple more years, I can probably figure this out and do an arena tour for myself.
And so like that's awesome that you got that chance to play in all these iconic giant venues.
So cool.
Even after that, do you still have like a dream venue or two that you would just love to get the opportunity to play at?
Probably Red Rocks. We didn't play at Red Rocks, and like that's for sure the one that I've always wanted to play. I've hiked there because my brother lives in Denver, so I go and visit him, and we do Denver stuff. And one of those things that you can do, it's like a state park when it's not a venue, So going to Red Rocks is pretty cool, and even without speakers or anything, it sounds so good there. So probably that one. But I think it'd be pretty cool to play. What's the one up in New York City that's like sort of a smaller venue? It's like 500, 600 cap, but it's got a really great like mezzanine. It's called something ballroom.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of what goes before ballroom.
It's named after a street that it's on.
I really don't know.
That one.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about because I've heard it before, like the something ballroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you kind of have any preference between like a more intimate venue like that and these like giant arena venues? When you're
Bowery Ballroom. It's Bowery Ballroom.
Bowery Ballroom. Got it.
And you were asking me if I prefer those to giant venues.
Like, yeah, like more smaller, like intimate shows as opposed to like giant arena shows.
I think so. You're definitely more in people's face, and you have a lot more like communication of energy, and there's a lot more like human connection there, and it's just more fun when you're doing that because when you're playing for a massive venue, it sort of just looks like a painting in front of you. It doesn't look real, and you don't really like associate that with like, yes, I'm in front of like people and I'm playing music for them. It just becomes like this like wash of stimulus in front of you, and it's sort of hard to process. But when you're playing like 500, 600 people in a little packed room, and it's kind of a little hot, too hot to be comfortable, and like it's loud and people are screaming, you can hear them scream. That's way cooler in my opinion.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like, as a fan, if you go to these concerts in giant arenas, if you kind of get tickets, like, kind of far back, rather than, like, seeing the artist making a connection, you're just watching, like, them on a screen, like, from a camera.
Yeah,
and so, like,
exactly.
That also kind of detaches you, like, from being there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of like little ants.
Yeah.
Like, so far away from you. Like, I could have just YouTubed this.
So have you had, like, at concerts or otherwise, have you had any like meaningful fan interactions? Like, have you met anyone who like knows you like from the band or anything?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly have had my. I think it just means so much anytime I meet somebody who actually enjoys listening to my music. I can't really pinpoint one in particular that's like more
Yeah,
important than the
yeah,
other. It's just
that's
so
true.
cool. Like when you meet someone and they tell you like that, this song meant a lot to them, or they tell you like, I was inspired by you to do this, this, or this, or like your record got me through this hard time. Anytime you have that, I just want to just give them just the
Yeah,
nicest kiss on the cheek because they're so sweet to me.
yeah,
And it's crazy. It is so crazy when you do a little diddly in your room and you don't think much of it, but then you record it later on, and then next thing you know, there's a bunch of people screaming it in front of you, and you're just like, wow, this is what is going on. It
this is
really,
this is happening. This is real.
yeah, it's wild. It's crazy, man.
Hmm.
It's yeah. To answer your question, it's all super meaningful.
Yeah.
It really is.
And so like when fans kind of talk about certain songs that help them, whether it's anything like that or just a song of yours that's your favorite. Is there anything like that, like a certain song that kind of means more to you than the others?
Um, I don't know. It's all pretty amazing, and yeah, I guess there's this tune "Wilderness Call" that I just put out not too long ago,
Hmm.
and that song seems to have a really big impact on people. It's about overcoming regret and kind of fighting through regret and this dilemma that I think everyone has been through, where you're bargaining with yourself of, am I a good person,
Yeah,
despite maybe not always making the best judgment calls. And when you see people connect to that, it's very meaningful, and
yeah,
it's pretty crazy to like really get an idea of how impacted people are when I play that song. So probably that one.
hmm, yeah. Well, that's awesome. Those are
Thanks, man.
those are all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great chat, despite all the technical difficulties beforehand.
Yeah.
But we got through it. We figured it out. And yeah, where can people find you online? Uh, Instagram, websites, anything you have like that? Plug it all.
Pretty much everywhere. You can find my website just wheelwrightphx.com. But if you look at Wheelwright on like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Spotify, Apple Music, all this
Yeah.
things, just Wheelwright. You can usually find me.
Yeah, and I'll leave a link to some of that down below. Thank you so
Thank you very
much
much.
for coming on. And
Dude,
yeah,
thank you for
it's been a
having me.
great time.
I appreciate it.